The crowd didn't see the pain. They saw the poise. Underneath the gleaming medals, the crisp uniform, and that impossible calm in her eyes, there was something else. Something heavier. Because when Princess Anne climbed onto that horse at Trooping the Color, she wasn't just performing a royal duty. She was defying it. The nation watched, breath held, as the Princess Royal, still recovering from a serious accident, rode beneath the burning June sun, her chin high, her movements steady. Every stride of that horse felt like a heartbeat of the monarchy itself, strong, stubborn, unbreakable. And in that moment, every whisper inside Buckingham Palace grew quiet, because Anne had just reminded Britain what royalty is supposed to look like. They're calling her the strong woman of the royal family. But that title, the one now murmured through palace halls and shouted across tabloids, isn't just symbolic. It's the crown of recognition from her brother, the king himself, who, in the twilight of his strength, is learning to see what's always been right in front of him. This isn't a coronation of jewels or thrones. It's one of spirit. King Charles has reportedly conferred a new honor upon his sister, an acknowledgement that she has become the backbone of the monarchy. And that timing could not be more significant, because the walls of Buckingham Palace are trembling. Illness, pressure, change. The monarchy has never felt so fragile, and yet, amid that fragility, Anne stands, defiant, unbending, irreplaceable for years. The public has called her the hardest-working royal. But the statistics don't tell the story. What tells the story is this: when others pulled back and leaned forward, when others faltered, she steadied. When the monarchy seemed like it was unraveling, she stitched it back together, not with words, but with action. She doesn't chase cameras. She doesn't pose, or plead for approval. She simply shows up. That's her power. This year's Trooping the Color, it wasn't just a parade, it was a test. Not just for her body, but for her will. The accident she suffered had been serious enough to raise doubts about her appearance. Even royal aides suggested she rest, recover, stay home. But Anne's answer was the same as it has always been when duty calls, and no excuses. No hesitation. No drama. She rode, and as she passed the reviewing line, the cheers swelled. Not for glamour, not for youth, but for grit. Her brother, watching from his vantage point, saw more than a sister. He saw a soldier, a stateswoman, the last of a generation that refuses to break. And that instant, something shifted in him. The man who has spent his reign walking the tightrope between tradition and transformation suddenly realized the monarchy doesn't need reinvention. It needs anchoring, and that anchor is, and experts noticed it too. Body language analyst Darren Stanton described her stance that day: arms behind her back, posture commanding, detached yet dominant. Authoritarian, he called it. But maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's the stance of someone who has carried the weight of 1,000 ceremonies, the burden of expectation, and still manages to stand taller than them all. Everyone else on that balcony had their arms by their sides. And didn't. She stood alone. And she always has. That's what makes her irreplaceable. While others have wavered under the scrutiny, Harry, Meghan, Andrew, even Charles at times, and has weathered every storm with a quiet sort of strength that doesn't demand attention but commands respect. It's why, behind palace doors, Charles's admiration has turned into something else. Dependence. He leans on her now, not just as family, but as his most trusted counselor. The sister who speaks plainly when others whisper. The one person who reminds him who he was before the crown, and who he still needs to be now that he wears it. And it's not lost on him that Anne's presence has become the monarchy's greatest stabilizer in a time when everything else seems uncertain. The family gathered on that balcony: Camilla, William, Kate, George, Charlotte, Louis, Edward, Sophie. A slimmer, modern monarchy, just as Charles envisioned. But even in that sleek new image, all eyes were drawn to her, not because she's next in line, not because she's glamorous, but because she's the living embodiment of endurance and doesn't play at being royal. She is royal, without needing the world to notice. The strong woman title bestowed on her isn't a gift. It's a reflection of a truth the entire institution has quietly depended on for decades. Without her, the machine doesn't run. And Charles knows it. As he battles his own health challenges, the crown feels heavier than ever. Every engagement, every appearance, every word carries the weight of a kingdom that's both questioning and clinging. He needs reliability. He needs constancy. And when he looks at her, he doesn't see just a sister. He sees the monarchy's last unbreakable pillar. She's been there since childhood. The tomboy princess who rejected vanity, who learned early that respect is earned, not inherited. The girl who grew up in the shadow of a crown but never envied it. The woman who turned duty into devotion, and that devotion is reshaping the monarchy itself. Because while Charles and Camilla navigate the public eye, while William and Kate prepare for the future and holds the line in the present, she bridges generations. The living memory of the Queen's relentless work ethic and the mentor to those who will carry that legacy forward. She's proof that the monarchy's survival doesn't depend on pomp or pageantry. It depends on people, and for all the talk of modernization and reform, Anne's way, quiet, consistent, uncompromising, might be the most modern of all. Her story now becomes the monarchy's compass. A reminder that strength doesn't shout. It stands. Royal insiders say Charles often seeks her counsel on delicate matters, how to manage transitions, how to hold the family together as the spotlight burns hotter, how to endure. And her advice, as always, is disarmingly simple. Do the work, that's it. No politics, no spin. Just the mantra that's defined her entire life, and that's why her influence runs deeper than any title. When the cameras leave, when the headlines fade, she's still out there, opening hospitals, visiting regiments, shaking hands with the quiet dignity that the monarchy once took for granted. She's the silent rhythm beneath the crown's chaos, and in recognizing her now, crowning her, in spirit if not ceremony, Charles isn't just honoring his sister. He's securing the monarchy's heartbeat, because if history remembers this era for anything, it won't be scandal or spectacle. It'll be the moment the crown looked fragile, and one woman refused to let it fall. Princess and didn't need a new title to prove her worth. She earned it long before anyone noticed. But now, the world finally sees it. The strong woman of the royal family, the sister, the soldier, the survivor, has become something greater than royal. She's become essential, and maybe that's the quiet revolution Charles was hoping for all along. Not a rebranding of the monarchy, but a return to its spine. Because long after the parades fade and the flags come down, one truth will remain. When the world questioned the monarchy's strength, it was and who answered. And she didn't answer with words, she answered with action.